Welcome to All Things Possible TV. We're excited to have you here with us on this episode. Holy crap, our son is gay.
That's me.
I'm Chris, this is Bill, my husband, and this is our son, Blake Barney. And this episode, it's been a while now that we've had the feeling that we needed to have this conversation and be able to assist other people in their life because of something that we've gone through. Last week on the episode, you saw that we talked about the gifts in our garbage, and definitely Blake is not our garbage, but there are definitely gifts that we've learned, things that we've really come to understand, and the biggest one was unconditional love. And so as we share our story today with you about basically our coming out as a family, as a son, and in a religious family, that it was a tough thing. And we have been able to learn from our mistakes and have a lot of lessons. So today we're just going to get raw and real and open and share with you our story. And I guess the best place to start is Blake.
I guess I was the first one to come out.
So Blake, tell us, growing up, third son, 3 boys in 3.5 years, and a very masculine family. We did lots of boy things. We played four-wheelers. Tell us your story, how you felt. We had no idea. This came as a complete shock to us.
It was a surprise.
And it was a big surprise when he was 18 and a half years old. And it's been about 6 years, and we've been able to, as a family, support Blake, and we are still very close and very tight-knit family. Even just this weekend, he flew in because grandbaby was born, so that was awesome. But Blake, share your experience, how you grew up, how you felt, and some of the things that you went through.
Yeah, of course. Growing up, I was extremely close to my whole family. I mean, we were out. I remember vacations every single month my whole life. 2 older brothers that I just idolized and held on pedestals and just wanted every day to be more like them. And was always outdoors. We never really, I wasn't, a big reader. I didn't sit home and play video games. It was out with my brothers or out with my mom, out with my dad. And it was always about spending time with the family. And I've always felt close to them. And even as I started to get into my teenage years, it was during my preteens, 11, 12, was probably when I started to realize some of the feelings for myself. I never really felt a distance from my family for the first several years. As those feelings started to flourish, you just sort of thought, oh, that's just a phase. It's, a temptation or a trial that I'm going to go through for a little while. It's just a part of me for now. But it stuck around no matter what I did. It didn't really go away. It just got stronger and stronger. And, I went through phases of denial, phases of a double life, phases of, just more dark phases of self-hatred or various things that way. And it took a lot of time. It took a lot of patience to really come to terms with who I was. And I guess getting into the details of my coming out, that year of my coming out, I got into some pretty dark phases, got into a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and fear. And I made choices that helped me get to my end result, but weren't necessarily the most smooth of transitions. And that senior year was my senior year in high school that I came to terms for myself. And I acknowledged that being gay wasn't a phase. It wasn't just a simple feeling, and it wasn't something that could be prayed away. It wasn't something that could be avoided or ignored. And I acknowledged and accepted the fact that it was a path and was going to be an aspect of my life for my entire life. From that point forward, I ended up moving out a little prematurely, and maybe a little bit of a rough way of moving out, and finished out my senior year in high school.
Oh, please share the details about that.
Everyone needs to know, a note on the bed and pack up and go,
yeah,
right?
It was. I was really scared, and it wasn't necessarily. There was fear in what the reaction would be from family, but I think a lot of it was fear of being questioned, fear of being unsure, because I was still unsure. I had just acknowledged and accepted the fact that I was gay. But I was only okay with it at that point. By accepting being gay, I no longer knew what the future looked like. Before I acknowledged and accepted that, I was going on a mission at 19. I'd get married between 21 and 23, and I'd have kids by 25. There was a a yellow brick road and an iron rod to follow, and exactly where I needed to go.
And there was a map with extreme details, how much money he would make, exactly what he would look like.
I'm a planner. And so when I acknowledged and accepted the fact that I was gay, it took a mission out of the question. It took a wife out of the question. Having children biologically, that's out of the question. So it really changed everything to where the future was no longer this vision. It was no longer this portrait on the wall of what I wanted to become. So a lot of my fear was that I was staring at a blank canvas and I was the artist and I needed to start painting. So I ran away. It's one of the things that I say isn't the most smooth things that I did. And were I to do it all over again, I would be more honest, be more open, and give my family that chance that they deserve to be there for me. But I moved out, lived with some friends' families, and finished out high school outside of my parents' home, and still kept in contact, came back for Sunday dinner, and it was definitely a rough patch. At this point, they still didn't know why. They didn't know why I had moved out, what was going on.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that. It wasn't that you'd come out and ran off. It was just that I'm 18, I'm choosing a different path, and I'm not going to tell you where I am.
Yep.
And it was a few days until we met together and talked about things, and that, it was only 2 months of your high school year, but it still was really difficult, and we still didn't know. So continue.
Yeah, still kept it in the dark, and I had plans with my high school sweetheart that I had dated through high school, and me and her went on this trip to Peru the week after high school graduation and spent some time, about 6 or 7 weeks down there in an orphanage. Which helped me do a lot of self-discovery. I read the entire set of scriptures again, gave it one last solid swing that I could, and really invested myself in that, invested myself into the service of the orphanage and seeing a third world country, which in all aspects was a huge blessing to have that experience, and actually in the end of it, became stronger in who I was.
And in your defense, he went with a girl.
Yeah.
He went with a girl that he cared deeply about.
Very deeply
If there was ever a girl that would have been something for his future at that point for you, that's who that was, and
Yeah.
I think that was another last attempt to
we were very, very
really
close.
be sure.
And so I came home from that, and one of the biggest reasons, I would say the biggest reason that I had not come out to my family yet, was I was very actively involved in a scouting program that I'd done for several years. In the year of my senior year in high school, I was the captain and the youth leader of the program. So I was intentionally waiting to come out until after that camp because I didn't want to put that in jeopardy. It was something that I took a lot of pride in and really felt sort of like a second family. That scouting program really was close, near and dear to my heart, and still is today. So I came home from Peru, and I was home for 48 hours before I was on the road again and back out doing that camp. So
And was captain in charge.
Yeah, it was good.
He had done many years with On Belay and had worked his way up to where he was captain over the whole thing, and there was how many scouts that
It
year?
was 125.
So
roughly.
125.
The youth leader, the
Yep.
liaison.
Yeah, the
with
leader
youth.
of the group.
Yeah, and it was a blessing. I loved being there, and I look forward to the day that as a leader I could go back to the scouting program. It's definitely a program that I still believe in to this day, regardless of where my life is at right now. Went on that and came home, and at this point I had still been living outside of the house, in various places, and I had about 3 or 4 weeks before I was to move into the dormitory in college, and I decided that it wasn't worth trying to find somewhere else, that I really wanted to work on my family relationships, that even while I had been out of the house, we'd still maintained close connections, everybody had been trying. There was friction, there was tension, but everyone putting in an honest effort. So we all agreed that it was best for me to spend those 3 weeks here in the house with the family before I moved out to the dorms. And it was during that time that I came out. I had set my mind to it. I had 1 more week before I moved out. And in that week we were actually going to be going to Lake Powell. It was a Sunday night, and I promised myself that I couldn't fall asleep until Mom and Dad knew. And I had to tell them. It had to come out because every night before that I'd been in the house, I kept postponing it. Like, I got more time, and I didn't want to wait till the last, till the 12th hour. So I promised myself I had to do it, and I was pacing back and forth in my bedroom for hours, and it had to be 11 o'clock or midnight by the time I got up the courage to go down. And they were, had just fallen asleep probably half hour before, and walked into their bedroom and turned on their light and said, I got to talk. And that's one thing that we always had growing up. It was a really safe haven. If you ever had anything, no matter what it was, whether it was good or bad, or just you wanted to give them feedback, I could just tell my parents, I need to tell you something, we need to talk. And that was the trigger word that you can't freak out on me. You can't, no spanking, no nothing. I get it.
Yeah. This is the size of an 18-year-old. Do you spank this one?
So I went and opened that door, and I knew that I could say that, and even though it may be the biggest storm of the world, that it would be received, it would be swallowed, and it would be handled with deep breaths. But that there wouldn't be violence, there wouldn't be freaking out, there wouldn't be yelling. So I walked into that, and they both sort of arched up on their elbows. Like, okay, what's going on? No, sit up all the way. And made them sit up in their bed with their backs against their headboard. And I crawled into bed with my back against the footboard and told them sort of drop the bomb. And I dropped it pretty quick.
Yeah, drop the bomb.
And
short fuse.
Yeah, it had been burning for a while. So I just opened up the discussion. Just sort of said there's something about me that I've been struggling with since I was 11, and and recently I've made the decision that it's a part of my life, and I want you to know that I'm gay, and threw it out there. And we had a good discussion. It was probably only half hour, 45 minutes the night of, and just asked a couple questions back and forth, and agreed that all was to be fine, all would be figured out, all would be rectified, and that we'd pick up the conversation at a later point. And from there it was just, let's work together. This is obviously, you're going to want to tell your siblings, you're going to want to, move in this direction. And they just politely asked, can we, any future steps as it relates to the family, let's make this decision as the three of us. As far as telling my siblings and stuff, and I agreed to that, that's completely reasonable. And we moved forward from there, and I went to bed. And the next day...
We, on the other hand, did not.
Yeah. So a day or two passed, and we talked just little bits here and there, and one morning my dad came and woke me up, and I was at that age that sleeps until 10 or 11 o'clock, and he woke me up about 6:30 in the morning and told me to come down to a family meeting. I had no idea what was going on. And we went down, and the family was sitting on the couch. My brother and my sister, that were my oldest brother, my middle brother was on a mission, and my baby sister was there, and we all sat around in a circle on the couch and opened up with a morning prayer with the family. And then essentially my dad just said that we had something as a family to discuss, and turned it over to me. So I came out to my brother and my sister right there on the spot, and we spent a few moments with everybody having an opportunity to ask questions and share some of their feelings and some of their emotions, and just to sort of get us all on the same page. And there was parts of that conversation that were very, very difficult. And there was parts of that conversation that are still very near and dear to my heart. We had that conversation. It was hard. It was hard for everyone. I mean, it was mom and dad are now 72 hours into finding out, and brother and sister are an hour into it. And we all said, you know what, everyone call in sick to work today. We're going to go boating for the day. We're going to do something that this family always does, and we have fun. And we set it aside. We put it on the table and said, any other questions? Nope, then that's good for the conversation today. Let's go be the family that we are, because nobody's changed. We just found out another detail about somebody that we didn't know. And it's a hard one, but nobody changed. And so this family lives on. And so we got the keys to the truck and the boat, and pretty soon we were out with the tubes getting hurt.
Having fun.
Yes.
Remember, it's having fun. Actually, one of the things I want to kind of bring out there is that you said that anytime there was something for someone in the family that was different. It's not that this video is just about same-sex attraction, and if you're not gay, don't watch. There are things, it can be an addiction, it can be pornography, it can be sexual abuse, it can be anything that's different that a person is challenged with, that a family gets hit and said, okay, here's the bomb, and it's dropped. And for us right then, this is what we got to go through. But what I want to reiterate is that there might be something else in your life that's going on for you, and you need to have that conversation. You need to be able to open up to those loved ones and come together as a family and as a team and find some support, because that's really what Blake needed. we wish that Blake would have come to us earlier.
Yeah.
If there was anything we could change, it would have been come earlier, because we would have loved to have helped you sooner or been there for you sooner and loved you through this. Without knowing, we had no idea. So we know there was things that were offensive. We know there was things that were said and done that hurt him. And we had no intentions to do those things. So that's one of the things that I want you to get from this. That it's not just about this is only same-sex attraction that you're going to get from this, because that's not the only thing that people struggle with. So Bill, we're going to
Yes.
go to you, and we're going to have you share your part of your story
Yeah.
of this.
Thank you. Along that line, though, with what you said, my heart hurts to think of the times that Blake sat and struggled through his whole teenage years and tried to handle it on his own. I don't judge him for it. I really don't blame you. I may have done the same thing in your shoes. It hurts to think that you were going through all that time and struggling and dealing with those feelings on yourself, and that we had no idea. There's many things to this that are very near to the heart and touch your emotions, and that was one of the things that, gosh, reach out to your support. Find someone that, whatever we're struggling with, find someone that you can reach out to and that can support you and that you know will love you no matter what. My story is, we was laying there in bed that night. Blake come in, says, I can't do this anymore. I've dealt with it for several years, and I'm gay. And there were many, many things that went through my head. Fortunately, not all of them came out my mouth. But I do remember saying, I don't remember a lot of what was said that night, but I remember telling him, Blake, we love you no matter what. We are a family unit, and to us, that's the most important thing. And we'll figure it out. Of course, in my mind, I was going through all the things of, okay, where's he broke? What can I do to fix him? When did this happen? What happened to make him this way? We're going to fix this. And I immediately delved into a lot of studying, checked out several support groups and different things, because I was going to fix this and make sure that my boy had a happy, normal life. And it was a really hard thing for us to see that. I mean, of all the dreams I had for my son, this wasn't one of them. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to come to terms with that. A lot of guilt. So I did a lot of things to try and figure out all this stuff about same-sex attraction and how it could be fixed and how he could be cured, as if there were something, as if he had a disease, as if there was something wrong with him. But that was my mindset. And also, as a father, I thought about all the things that we've gone through as a family: cancer, severe medical problems, operations, and one thing and another. And for me, in my heart at that time, I couldn't imagine anything worse or more heartbreaking and more difficult than having a child be gay. That was the worst to me, and I realized I couldn't fix it by myself, so I decided, well, maybe God can fix it. You know, Blake had been working on that for several years already, but I was going to give it another go. And so I decided that if I do more volunteer work and service at the temple, which as Latter-day Saints, that's one of our most holy buildings, is the temple, where we feel like we can get closer to God. And so I started doing regular service at the temple, and for a long time I just prayed, God, please change Blake's heart. Please help him see the light. Help him see how he's wrong, and bring him back to do things the right way. And I worked there for probably 3 months. You know, and my prayer was answered. I got that miracle I had been asking for, and the heart was changed. But it was my heart that was changed, and not Blake's. I came to realize that there's nothing to fix. He's not broken. The only thing that was broken was my attitude and the way I was looking at things. And so I just came to just totally accept that. And I don't know how this, as Blake said, I don't know how this is all going to pan out, but I just trust that it will work out. And the most important thing is that Blake is happy and that he's true to himself. And he's an honorable man, and I am proud of him. I remember, it hasn't been maybe a year ago, he came up from Arizona to visit us, and we was going to bed. It was late at night, and we'd been out doing something. And he was walking towards his bedroom, and I said, Blake, and he turned around, and I says, I want you to know that I am proud of you. I'm just proud of you. And I didn't even get to finish that sentence. And he turned around and almost ran back and hugged me. And just hugged me and shook with emotion. And I was so glad that we had that moment. But again, I took on, why didn't I make sure he knew that before all this time? I could see what a relief that he felt when he heard me say those words, Blake, I'm proud of you. Because he had been living, I'm sure, with this thing of Dad's ashamed of me. I'm Dad's big disappointment. And that is so not the case. So that was kind of my journey, coming from doing that to where we go on with life. And this is definitely not the worst thing that could happen to one of your children. It's just something else that happens. So.
Thank you. For me, my story is a little different. As a mother, and as Blake and I had a really close relationship as mother and child, I went to, what did I do wrong? I went to guilt, I went to blame, and I dug deep for a long time. It was almost 2 years before I was even okay enough with things to tell close friends and family. I just blamed myself. I tried to figure out, okay, when I was pregnant, what did I do wrong? What did I think? Because I wanted a girl, because I had 2 boys, and I was the 3rd girl when they wanted a boy. So I tried to figure out all of this stuff that could have been the reason. And then I really struggled when my twin brother killed himself, and I got really close with Blake, and I searched and studied to find out that, yeah, that could be if the mom is really dependent on a child during a really traumatic time. So then it was for sure my fault that he was gay. And I just continued to go down this path, and how did I not know? And I was so in tune with the kids, and there was so much of the time that, you know, if they went to slough school, I would catch them because I knew. And I felt like, why did I not get this? How did this happen? And I took all the blame onto myself of, it's my fault. And I've said this, and I've said this. We used to go walking all the time, and I'm like, I can't imagine anything worse than having a gay child. I remember saying that sentence on one of our walks. And it haunted me. It had been a couple of years before I found out. And I didn't recognize his reaction. I just remembered I had said that. And I know that had to have hurt Blake deeply. And so my coming out, I guess, is that I took all the guilt. I took all the blame, and I was like, what did I do to screw up my child? How did I mess him up? How did I break him? And not be there and not be the mother he needed. And it's taken a lot of time. It's taken a lot of work. And for me to learn the lessons that were in that for me, but also for me to dig deep enough into myself to know that I am the perfect mom for Blake.
Yeah.
And that he has the perfect dad, that he has the perfect parents to love him and know he's gay, and that it's okay, that we can get through this as a family, we can be strong. It's amazing to me. He has a very good job, lives out of state, and yet when we have a family thing, like a grandbaby, our first grandbaby, he flies in and just drops everything, flies in town, and spends a few days. We went through some brain tumors, some very tragic times, and he was either driving all night to get here or flying in every brain tumor surgery. So family is extremely important. You have found that embrace of the family around this, that we didn't know how that would look. You know, when he says, I told my baby sister, his sister's 5 years younger. And so the first initial, you don't tell anybody because you're in middle school. When she hit high school, every one of her friends said he was the best looking guy around. They wanted to come spend the night. She'd have her birthday party in the middle of summer in the boat. And of course they wanted Blake. And they'd fight over who got to sit by Blake. And we'd all just be like, this is hilarious. Because they're all fighting over
It's a dead end road.
a gay boy. Because they wanted this older brother. And so there were some fun things that we had. One of the things that got us through a lot of our struggles was humor. We joked about it, we teased about it, and part of it was because if we didn't laugh, we would cry. And we didn't want those emotions to hurt each other. But we also made a lot of mistakes. Over that couple of years, that first initial couple of years, we made as many mistakes as Blake did. But Blake made as many mistakes as we did. That in learning that mesh, learning the things that worked and that didn't work, and how to unconditionally love. The biggest lesson that I learned for me was unconditional love. I thought I was unconditionally loving people all the time, and I know that I was to a point. But there was always this extra room for improvement, to get out of my judgment, to get out of my own way, and to stop looking at it from me. Look beyond myself. Look out and see, what can I do to help my child? What can I do to see my child have happiness, fulfillment, people caring about him, and him not feeling like I'm the one that's weird, I'm the one that's wacky, I'm the one that's way out here different. Our society treats all of the gay, the lesbian community as different. And overall, we do that. And it needs to be stopped.
Well, if you've ever watched a parade, they are a little bit different.
They do have a fun parade.
Yes.
And there's our humor.
Yeah, we do. We laugh at it.
We have a lot of fun. And we also have learned a lot of lessons on ways that we can be close, we can be candid, and we can also have honest heart-to-heart discussions. Blake and I have stayed up all night long talking about, all you want is to be a dad. Should we have that birds and bees discussion again? Like, how is this going to look? I don't see how this is going to look. You're determined to be a father. And he's wonderful with kids. We're not sure how all of that's going to happen, but we do know that we have a tight-knit family and that we have love no matter what. Recently, Blake had a breakup. And within 30 minutes of a phone call, his oldest brother and Bill and I were in a car for a 12-hour drive. I was 2 days out of surgery. And
At midnight.
we were in Phoenix the next day because his heart was hurt.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things, and I'm not saying that to pat us on the back. It's that is what it takes. It takes unconditional love no matter what, and being there for each other.
Showing your love. Actions speak so much louder than words, and that action alone of being on the phone, saying I just got my heart broke, and by the end of the phone call I can hear the car starting, and living 12 hours away, that's a big step.
Well, we even talked for a couple hours while we were driving because we knew he was upset and distraught, and I'm in the back seat. All I can do with my leg elevated was, okay, so we're driving. This is where we're at. How are you? What can we do? And he was saying, you don't need to come. It's okay. I'm fine. And he was. We went down and we went out and partied and had a little bit of fun and
Hung out for 3 days.
and hung out, but just showed him that we cared. And that is what this is about. Showing that you deeply, truly care. The last thing that someone who's struggled with their identity, struggled with their feelings, the last thing they need is to feel like nobody cares and that they're shunned. So if you don't learn anything else from our coming out story, if you take anything from this today, just remember that everyone deserves to be loved no matter what. That is what the key to all of this is. Do you feel loved?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we feel like he loves us?
He shows us all the time.
Absolutely. And that's the best way to get through these kind of struggles in your life. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited that you were here with us. We got really raw and real with you today, but we would like to be able to help you, to serve you. There's lots of episodes, so go to our channel, allthingspossible.tv. There's 30-something episodes up there. find the ones that you're struggling with, find the ones to see, and also visit our website at www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, that's www.allthingspossible.biz. Also watch, because next week we will be coming out with our episode of learning from our mistakes and what we've learned and from the lessons that we have been learning through this 6 years.
Yeah.
We've had 6 years of this in our lives, and we've learned a lot, and we'd love to be able to share those with you. So watch next week, tune in, and see what we have to share with you from All Things Possible with Bill, myself, and Blake.
And we would love to hear from you on email also, if you'd email Chris at allthingspossible.biz. We'd love to hear from you. That's what we're doing this for, is to help other people deal with these challenges in life.
Right, you can find that on the website. It's one of the tabs. Email us and let us know how we can serve you. If you have questions and how from our experience it can make your life different. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.